Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, and welcome to Game Over Winnipeg, where the Winnipeg Jets have won over the Seattle Kraken 2-1. Almost needed overtime, but not quite. And if you are new to the show here, or just, sticking around first time, long time, doesn't matter, make sure you're chatting away up in this box up here. Your comments will appear. Look, this was me telling the audience that we might need an extra second while I make some tweets to social media so everyone can come and join us. We can all talk over here in this corner. And while you guys are getting ready to speak, we're getting ready to type into the show, because this isn't just my show, it's also your show. Let's shift into hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source of the biggest stories in hockey. Bring a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. Join Max, Daphne, and Kevin every Tuesday and Thursday for your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube, on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to your podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. You guys are watching a show on YouTube. You know where to get podcasts. And, they just had a really nice segment where they talked about Connor Hellebuck probably being the front runner for the Heart, because Connor Hellebuck invented the position of goaltending, as everyone who's a common Game Over Winnipeg enjoyer knows. But with that, let's get into the Seattle Kraken game. And I was pretty excited for this one. And I was excited because if you are a longtime viewer, you know I reference the Winnipeg Jets' first game against the Seattle Kraken a lot. And that's because one thing that the Seattle Kraken did for the Winnipeg Jets is they gave them a real challenge. They used their speed a lot. They really emphasize the stretch pass. They are really good at kind of stretching the ice and making a lot of plays that way. And that kind of gave the Winnipeg Jets a real challenge in the game they faced them. Connor Hellebuck kind of saved them. I really think in that first game, even though the Jets won, that the Seattle Kraken outplayed them. But then when it came, but not only that, it also gave them some lessons, because after that Seattle game, they went and played the Colorado Avalanche, and they were a little bit more equipped to defend on the rush. And that was the game where the Colorado Avalanche were able to beat the Jets 1-0. And so I was really excited for this game because the Winnipeg Jets could take on a similar challenge as they did in the first Seattle Kraken game. And that's exactly what happened in the first few minutes of the game here. I think the Seattle Kraken really took it to them. The Seattle Kraken are an extremely good forechecking team. I think that Schwartz-Bernier's Capo Caco line was extremely effective in terms of just getting in the play. And you noticed off the first few minutes of the game, Pionk was having trouble with the forecheck. Sandberg, Morrissey was having some trouble. DeMello almost got stripped right away. And it was such a whole thing of okay, here we go. This is kind of what we're in for against this team. The first 5 minutes were awful for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of just getting hemmed in. That forecheck was super killer. And then Logan Stanley goes and he takes an elbowing penalty. And was it an elbow? Was it not an elbow? Was he just 6'7"? That's tough to say. But one thing is for certain, it really seems like Logan Stanley is developing just a reputation for himself. And it's a reputation where you are no longer getting the benefit of the doubt when you do anything that's kind of sus. So Logan Stanley's just out here doing a hit. He goes up a little high. You're getting called for that apparently every time. And that's such a reputation call for our poor man, Logan Stanley. And we're going to talk about Logan Stanley a little bit more later. But the Winnipeg Jets are able to kill it off, a real nice thing. But then the Winnipeg Jets give up a goal. And this is that off the rush speed that we talk about when it comes to the Seattle Kraken. It's Jaden Schwartz. He's able to just kind of lob the puck over. And the Winnipeg Jets do this a lot as well. They do a lot of cross ice dumps, but the Seattle Kraken did a really nice soft dump. And their player Capo Caco was able to just skate into it, make a nice cross ice pass to Matty Beniers, and it's 1-0 for the Seattle Kraken. And two people who had a really nice view of that goal were Kyle Connor and Dylan DeMello. And usually I would give Kyle Connor a lot of I'd give him a lot of grief for his play in terms of defensive play, just kind of watching the goal go in. But I think when you are standing beside Dylan DeMello and he's also kind of doing the same thing, just kind of watching it go by, I think, you get a little bit more of a pass simply because Dylan DeMello is also doing that. Then we go into the second period. And the Nikolai Ehlers one of his biggest, like, he had a lot of highlights tonight. He also had a couple lowlights. There was one turnover at high ice I just want to talk about. And when we talk about like learning lessons game to game, we're kind of ramping up to the playoffs now. We're almost at game 50. We're over the hump. We are at like the Wednesday of the NHL season, which it's hump day. It's hump month for the NHL season. And this is when we really got to fine tune our game. And one thing that Nikolai Ehlers was super struggling with in that Los Angeles Kings game is he really struggled in high ice, which is kind of where he does a lot of his magic. But he just had a lot of kind of turnovers that came from just overhandling and high ice. And this is what happened here. Because he was able to come back. He really was fine, kind of taking on a 2-on-1, disrupted the play, was able to kind of hold off the guy until Josh Morrissey was able to come back. Took a shot, easy save for Hellebuck. So it was all good, no worries. And then Nino Niederreiter is able to draw a penalty off of, I believe it was Jamie Alexiak. And one thing that was really cool about this game is, we have Owen White saying it is hump month for the NHL season for sure. We are game like 46, I believe, something in that range. It is like the Wednesday. And then with the Winnipeg Jets, they go on the power play, and it was such a. We're gonna do some comparisons between this game and the LA Kings game because they kind of went a little bit similar. But one thing that was completely different was the penalty kill from the Seattle Kraken. The LA Kings were on you. They were like flies on poop. They were just coming at you, not letting you make a move. But the Seattle Kraken, you'll notice this on the two power plays. When the Winnipeg Jets won the faceoff in the first one, the Seattle Kraken just collapsed into the slot. But when it came to the second power play where there's more puck battles, there's more stuff along the boards, there's a little more chaotic, they will be on you. But in this instance, the Winnipeg Jets win the faceoff, they collapse into the slot, and they just let the Winnipeg Jets kind of move around on the outside. And I thought, okay, well, they're trying to take away that pass, that Mark Scheifele goal that was scored against Vancouver on Tuesday night. That kind of get it low, get it high, and into the net sort of thing. But the Winnipeg Jets were still able to create movement, create chaos, get that pass off, and then ultimately, since they were collapsed, the three guys on the top, Morrissey, and we have Harold. Go Jets, go! Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Harold. Thanks for watching the show. Recognize your name, Harold Peltier. Is that Peltier? Peltier, yeah. So yeah, just the guys on the outside were the three most offensive impacted guys on that power play. Morrissey gives it to Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor takes a shot off the blocker, which Joey Decord, great goalie, is not able to handle. It lands right on Mark Scheifele's stick, and he just whips it home. The game is tied. And then one thing we got to shout out here is the Burakovsky breakaway. Connor Hellebuck is able to just glove it beautifully, and that's one of the things we worried about coming to this game is that last Seattle Kraken game. There was so many stretch passes, so many times where the Winnipeg Jets were taken advantage of on the rush, and the Seattle Kraken, this was really the only time they were able to get that stretch pass off. But it's also something they've been susceptible to against a team like Dallas, with Rupa Hintz doing that a lot. But Connor Hellebuck makes the glove save, super easy play from the best goaltender in the world, the guy who invented goaltending. Going into the third, the Seattle Kraken come out flying again. That forecheck becomes a real problem. But the Winnipeg Jets are able to hold it. And then one thing that we've kind of not touched on yet is the second line for the Winnipeg Jets has been the best line all game. Really, that middle six that's been reconfigured were their best players. At 5-on-5, I would say the top line kind of struggled to kind of generate any meaningful offense. But those middle six forwards, they're shooting, they're doing stuff. They created enough of chaos. Logan Stanley hits a post. And then they come around later in the period. Ehlers to Lowry. Lowry rings off the post. And you're thinking, like, there's so many times in this game where they're almost scoring. They're almost doing this. There's something that's got to give, because since the beginning of the second period, it's been kind of building for the Jets. They've been able to go off of plays. They've been going off of this momentum that they've been building, especially after they scored that power play goal. And then throughout the middle of that third period, there were kind of less chances. They were kind of playing some more conservative hockey. But then at the end of the game, they throw the second line back out there to just kind of end it, kill it off. But one thing that you would see from having Nikolai Ehlers on that line is their objective isn't always just to waste time. Right now, then they go out there and they create stuff. They're creating stuff in the last minute of the game. Nikolai Ehlers, they have a nice, just methodical breakout. It's not Nikolai Ehlers needing to do all the work. It's Lowry, it's Iafallo, and Ehlers working together. They get into the zone. Nikolai Ehlers is just keeping the puck to the outside. Gives up to Dylan DeMello, of all people, who shoots the puck. 20 seconds left. Ends the game pretty much. You're not scoring Connor Hellebuyck with 27 seconds left. I don't care who the coach is. You're not drawing up a plan that's going to score on the best goaltender in the world in that time frame. And that was kind of the story of the game. And while we kind of digest that, let's kind of go into the second period. Let's kind of break down some more long-term things, not just the things that happened tonight, but how they affect other things that about the Winnipeg Jets season, because it is hump day of the NHL season, hump month. So let's get into the second period. And if you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, you can head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Game Over Network. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. If you don't know, Patreon's kind of like a subscription kind of service where you can get extra kind of benefits for just a couple, like $1 or so a month. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, and opportunities to give us feedback. And you can also join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on the media of your choice. So that's that. Yeah, just kind of any way to really help us out. Liking and subscribing, also super helpful. Now let's kind of go into the second period. With the second period, there are kind of a few things I want to talk. The first thing, is Kaapo Kakko. Kaapo Kakko, a player just like Jacob Trouba, was traded from the New York Rangers earlier in the year, and I thought he was very impressive tonight. That line of him, Beniers, and Jaden Schwartz were very effective against the Jets. They were forechecking really well, and I thought kind of the catalyst of a lot of it, Beniers was doing a lot with his skill, but Kaapo Kakko was very effective on the forecheck in the corners and just kind of making little solid plays. And you can see there's a high-end skill there, but at the end of the day, he feels like maybe a younger, maybe a little bit more skilled Nino Niederreiter, where he's just really good in the corners. He'll be able to give you a lot of really good things at like a guy who's been, you can tell he's a pro. And I think with those pro habits, he's got a big body, he's able to kind of box guys out, do some really nice things as a player. And he may not fit the bill of a second overall pick, but you watch him play and you're like, this is a guy who's just such a solid NHL player, really good on the forecheck, a really good complementary piece. And I looked at him like, that guy should be a Winnipeg Jet right now. He's just a guy who would really complement their style, a guy where they're just, you throw the puck in the corner, he's able to dig it out, get it up, start a cycle, and he did that so many times against the Jets defense tonight. He would also make like super nice, just like saucer passes to his own defenseman. He looks so nonchalant while also playing a physical game where he's able to kind of withstand pressure from the outside sources of the Winnipeg Jets. So I just thought they were really good in that aspect. Another thing was just, we talked about the Seattle Kraken game, the one from before, the one where the Winnipeg Jets really struggled with speed. So I thought we could reflect on that a little bit tonight. And I think it was also such a threat against the Winnipeg Jets. The Kraken speed, it came out in many different ways. The first was the forecheck. The forecheck was pretty relentless against the Jets, and the Winnipeg Jets really didn't have a way to kind of squeeze out of it. And I think even on their best breakouts, they didn't have that consistent just tape to tape getting it out. And the Kraken were just kind of pinning them against the wall. And I think that's one thing looking forward. The Winnipeg Jets are going to have to find a way to kind of get away from that, because being in the Western Conference, there's going to be a lot of heavy forechecking teams. You think about what the LA Kings did to the Jets the other night. The Colorado Avalanche are going to take it to another level. The Dallas Stars are a big, heavy team. They have with layers of offense. You're going to have to find a way to kind of get through that forechecking, and that's something you're going to have to look out for as the season goes on. And I'm not sure who's in the second wild card right now. It's like Vancouver. I think St. Louis is in that. And if you get into a team like St. Louis, that's another team that really forechecks you hard. Guys like Brandon Saad's in that team. Braden Shen, guys like that who are, Jake Neighbors. You don't want to be forechecked by Jake Neighbors. So you're going to have to go in there, kind of figure out how to kind of streamline that process, make it a little bit easier on your defensemen. Another thing was on the rush. I think the Winnipeg Jets were really good at defending the rush today. But just like disrupting those plays. There was one where the Seattle Kraken, they were like one pass away from scoring. Eli Tolvanen was just trailing a little bit, but the Winnipeg Jets were able to just collapse in on Connor Hellebuyck and kind of take that away. The stretch passes, we talked about this before, that was something where the Winnipeg Jets kind of do this too, where they'll kind of stick a guy at the far end and they'll try to pass it to them puck so they can either just tip it into the zone or maybe they hold it and try and make it a second play to get an entry with speed. But the Seattle Kraken try to do that to a T, and that's kind of what we've seen from them for their whole kind of thing. Snow Skull says, "What's the score?" The score was 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. They got the game-winning goal with 27 seconds left before the final buzzer rang. And with that, just kind of with the stretch passes for the Seattle Kraken, the Winnipeg Jets were just kind of able to hold on, just kind of hold them to nothing. And then just their speed. Their speed was very relentless. In the Seattle Kraken's own zone, they're on you, like flies on shit. And the Winnipeg Jets, that's kind of where they struggle. And I think that kind of stems into what the first line kind of struggles with. And when you are on the first line kind of like that, they can kind of be susceptible to that. You go back to that LA Kings game, which I think is the most similar to the way that the Seattle Kraken defend. And it was just 2 games where those guys were held off the score sheet at 5-on-5. And with that, I think one player who really struggled tonight, he had an assist, but I think Kyle Connor was very weak tonight. And I think he didn't have his best game. He was kind of susceptible to not wanting to engage in battles. He was kind of peeling off. And when I think of what makes someone tough, I don't think that going out there and fighting guys makes you necessarily tough. I don't think going out there and running around and hit guys. But I think wanting to be first to the puck and then be willing to be hit is what makes you a tough hockey player. And I think someone who really embodies that is Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele was taking hits all game from Brandon Montour, trying to make plays, taking that extra step to make sure you're on side, taking that extra step to kind of rim it down, getting hit so you can make the pass, taking the hit to make the play. And Kyle Connor was just so unwilling to engage along the boards tonight. And it was something where you look at him as a player, and you know what? It's hump day of the season. We're in January. This doesn't necessarily translate to the playoffs. But you look at a guy like him, and if he is your kind of top guy, you kind of wonder what I just worry. I've thrown it out there that I would trade him in a package for Elias Pettersson. And I think it comes down to, is he the guy who's going to drive you to that next level? Is he like the Jonathan Huberdeau that you trade out to get that final piece? Is he the DeMar DeRozan, if we're going to make a basketball reference, so that you love him, he gets you all these points, but does he give you anything on the defensive side? Or is he such a name that you can kind of make a package around him to kind of upgrade him for something else? And I think that's a very big statement to make, especially since he's like 7th in NHL scoring. But I think it's one where you look at him at 5-on-5 tonight, in those tough games, in those playoff-like games, is he going to be able to kind of come out there and be the player you need him to be? And yeah, and even when a similar player to him, I think, in terms of their careers, is Phil Kessel. And you think of when Phil Kessel had success, he was on Pittsburgh, and even when they acquired him, the Pittsburgh Penguins weren't able to take him at full salary, kind of showing what that kind of player looks like on a successful hockey team. So just kind of something to think about. And then another thing we got to talk about is that middle six. The middle six was extremely good tonight. And I think as we kind of get through this analysis, we got to talk about that second line. And that second line has been such a revolution for this team. The first line we just talked about, they didn't have it tonight, but the second line was able to come out and they were driving play every single time they were on the ice. And each one of those guys, like, it's a look that you haven't seen with Nikolai Ehlers, where he's got an extended look with just guys who play super simple, super engaged hockey. Because usually when it was Paul Maurice, it's first line, second line of like guys who are your skilled guys who are on the first line. We don't really care about the mix because they're basically the third line anyway, because the second line is the Lowry line, who's out there trying to make nothing happen. They won't score, but the other team won't score either. But just having that kind of line you put out there against the other team's top line that gives you offense as well, because Nikolai Ehlers is not afraid to kind of push the limits, kind of get you engaged. And when he's in trouble, when he's doing his laps and he gets in trouble, knowing that Iafallo and Lowry are just going to be hanging around the net, it's almost similar to the way that the second power play compares to the first Jets power play, because the second power play runs this like 3-2 system where the guys on the umbrella kind of hang back a little bit. They'll move around, they'll get down low, but what they really want to do is they want to set up that double screen with Nino Niederreiter and Alex Iafallo. And that's kind of how what's kind of translating to 5-on-5 is this system of, okay, we have Ehlers, he's doing all the transition, he's doing all the circling, but also he's able to either make a play to kind of an open guy for a backdoor, or he's able to get Lowry in the slot. But he's able to just, if he's in trouble, you can always just shoot it on net because one of those two is going to be there to pick up any sort of rebound. And that's kind of Ehlers' kind of thing on the line. We talked about him in our forward kind of halfway point review or grading, that he just didn't have guys. He had this role of he's the shooter, but he's also the guy who's carrying the play. And with these guys, it kind of gives him a little bit more to work with. And I think one guy who's really taken his game to the next level is Adam Lowry. Adam Lowry in the last few games he's been so good at finding Nikolai Ehlers. If you've seen him tonight on the breakout, he's able to just hit him with speed all the time. Super good. Especially there was a time in like the first few shifts where he hit him and Ehlers is just flying. You're like, oh, it's going to be a good Ehlers game tonight. And that came to fruition. And then there's Alex Iafallo, who I gave him kind of a bad grade in our grades because he's playing on the fourth line for basically all the first 41 games. And it just seemed like he wasn't worth the cap hit. And you were thinking like, okay, can we get more out of this roster spot? Can we get more out of this money if we get like a second line center, if we get an upgrade on defense? Because even a bottom pair defenseman is going to probably play more than a fourth line forward. Iafallo is playing 11.5 minutes per night. But he's really, like, with this extra ice time, taking his game to another level. He's such a disturber on the forecheck. He's able to just pick things off. He's a menace in front of the net. He had this beautiful tip tonight on the power play where Perfetti just kind of throws it along the ice and he just angles his stick so that it kind of goes and deflects perfectly into that top corner. It's a cord glove on it, but still beautiful nonetheless. Alex Iafallo in these last few games has really shown why he was the guy to play with Kempe and Kopitar in LA, why he was such a central part of the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and just why he's making me look like an idiot for giving him a D in our Winnipeg Jets forward grades for the first bit. For that third line, I think I just want to, we might save that for, actually no, we won't save that. Cole Perfetti's looking great along the walls. Nino Niederreiter, just a veteran, super good. And one thing I like, you know what you're getting out of Nino Niederreiter. And I think with Cole Perfetti, one thing you notice is he's making more attempts to make like little skill moves, trying to go between guys' legs, do a little extra play to get a better shot. And you really like to see that out of him. You really like the confidence he's showing from a younger player, just kind of finding his way in the league. He's been hurt so much. And you really like some people, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast was kind of giving him a little bit of schlack for not taking a shot at a certain point when he tried to make an extra move. But I think what you want out of Cole Perfetti at this point in his NHL career is the Winnipeg Jets, they're making the playoffs, like unless something catastrophic happens. But you want to see this player be able to take it to the next level. And between him and Nino Niederreiter, they're just performing so well. It's so beautiful to see. And then there's Rasmus Kupari on the third line. Very much like Alex Iafallo, uses his speed, makes disruptions happens, and he's pretty good defensively. But what's with his offense? I was thinking about his offensive game, and they said he scored 12 goals. I'm like, how does this guy score 12 goals? With him, whenever he takes a shot, it looks like it wouldn't even hit a soccer net. And it reminds me of a driving test, okay? Like if Rasmus Kupari was taking a driving test, he'd be out there, he'd be hitting his car, he's doing shoulder checks. He nails the parallel parking. He He's, looking both ways. He's stopping. He's doing everything he needs to do. And then he gets there, in this analogy, he gets to the front of the net. And then he's going, and he drives into the auto pack. He just bursts through the wall. It's like he does everything right up until it's time to shoot the puck. And then it goes 8 feet wide. And it's so consistent. But, he's does so well in every other aspect of the game. And if he has a tap in, he usually gets it. Not always. That was a lie. But he's just a funny player to watch. Love this man. Such a good fourth line center. All right. And then let's go into the third period. And then while we go into the third period, let's talk about some people. And if you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this, right? Well, make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you check the notification bell so you're alerted when we go live. We do this after every single game. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review. That really helps the algorithm. It's like in in Space Jam 2, Don Cheadle, algorithm. If you really like us, make sure you follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky, on TikTok and Twitter at the Game Over NHL, or on Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn. We're on all those places. And also go down there. You can follow me and Ty on various social media networks. It's very fun, very exciting. And you can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where you can sign up for the upcoming newsletter. We're getting a newsletter. Amazing. All right, let's go to the third period. This is the part of the show where I can talk about wherever I want. And the Winnipeg Jets made a trade. They acquired a person from the Chicago Blackhawks, and his name is Isaac Phillip. I almost said Phil because all my file names are Phil when I'm about to put some stuff on screen. And this is him. His name's Isaac Phillip. Wrong way. And Isaac Phillip, he's played like 56 games in NHL, 12 points, same amount of points as Ville Heinola, 6'3", 205. Seems like a nice guy. And with him, the Winnipeg Jets traded Dmitry Kuzmin. Kuzmin. His name's escaping right now. I just talked about him with somebody else. And they traded for Dmitry Kuzmin, a left-handed defenseman for left-handed defenseman. And for what the Chicago Blackhawks are getting out of this, I was kind of confused because it seemed like the Winnipeg Jets upgraded a little bit here. What really mattered for them is that Kuzmin was from Belarus, and their second overall pick from last year, guy in the AHL, Antoine Levashevkov, something like that. Since the Winnipeg Jets don't have first-round picks that often anymore, I'm not too big into the drafts. But he's also from Belarus, so they want to bring someone in, kind of make him feel more at home. And with Isaac Phillips, the Winnipeg Jets, they seemingly get a guy who's played NHL games before, and they can see what he's got. And I didn't really know much about him, but I did a little bit of research. It seems like he's 6'3". I looked at some kind of scouting. These scouting reports are going to be from what was this website called? Basically, whatever the SB Nation website was, a fan-run kind of network for the Chicago Blackhawks. And they said, most defensemen, most of Phillips, this is his passing, so he's a really good passer, or a fine passer. His best primary, he became quite the playmaker on Rockford, kind of more of an offensive guy, and it seemed like he could translate well to the NHL, especially in breakout passing. I saw some highlights of him, just kind of making some nice breakout passes, very clean and crisp. Apparently he's a really good skater as well. Skating is one of, if not the top skill of Phillips. He's got a powerful stride, quick activation, can maneuver in tight spaces or around opposing players very effectively. More than once, he can show that he can excel in transition, but not play showcased. Oh, and then they talk about his NHL goal where he goes end to end. Very beautiful, very nice. Can kind of evade forecheckers, which is very good. Seems like he's got quite the fine shot, can get it through as well. Kind of got a little bit more of an offensive game. And when it talks about his defensive side, he's above average on ice awareness defensively. But he's had several instances where his smart stick broke up both plays on both in zone and near the blue line. He can be physical. He's got some 6.7 hits per 60. Is that good? I don't know. Oh, it was 5th on the team. Amazing. Maybe I should just keep reading. But he often relies on his reach and quick hands, even on defense. Seems like a guy. And when they talk about his skating as well, they talk about him being able to jump into the play, which is something the Winnipeg Jets kind of really like out of their defensemen. And hopefully this guy can kind of come in and like maybe they could even get a few games out of him, kind of bring him up, see if he can fulfill that sixth defenseman role. And I think coming off of a few games with Logan Stanley kind of struggling maybe more than they're used to, he's a guy that they can come in and try, because something that the Winnipeg Jets have been super good at is finding niche players to play in certain roles on their team. You think of Sean Monahan and how well he fit into the power play, the left-handed faceoff taking centerman who is super good at taking that faceoff and really good at that inner slot shot on the power play, which is kind of exactly what they needed at the time. They needed a guy who could also be on the penalty kill, and he was super good at that niche role. And with that, I kind of want to reflect on Logan Stanley right now. And you guys, not you guys, but some people are being pretty rude to Logan Stanley. And if we look right here, Mike McIntyre said this about the game on Tuesday against the Vancouver Canucks, and where he said, "Sure sounds like there's been some smattering of boos from some Jets fans when Logan Stanley touched the puck on his last shift, which came moments after his misplay right before the goal that broke up Hellebuyck's shutout on Tuesday night." And I gotta say, that's just rude, okay? Don't boo a player in a 6-1 game. I've definitely booed the Jets off the ice. I will say I'm not the kind of person who says you can't boo your team, but I think booing a specific player on your team is rude, because like we've talked about, we should be nicer to Logan Stanley, okay? He doesn't put himself in the lineup. And we have some other people saying, like Stuart Kaspareski, saying, "I have stated for years that Logan Stanley is not an NHL defenseman, barely an AHLD," which, I mean, I'm not going to say anything but that, but fans should never boo their own players, boo management for playing a player that shouldn't be on the ice. Chevy and Arnie need to be called out for this, and I think that's a more fair assessment. Chevel, Dayoff, and Scott Arniel are the ones. I don't know if it's one over the other, but since we don't know that, we can just say it's both of them, which I think is a more than fair. They need to kind of be, if we're going to hold anyone accountable for this, it is those two. And I hope that this trade for Isaac Phillips can at least give them an option to see what they have in that regard. And then again, we have Walleye Guy. The lost shutout isn't on Logan Stanley. It is on Scott Arniel. He keeps playing him when there are better options. The lost shutout is on the coach. And I think that is kind of, for as good of a season as Scott Arniel is having, that's such a blind spot for them, is the Logan Stanley kind of aspect of this. And I think another weird thing about this trade is it's coming off of a December where, the Winnipeg Jets did some weird roster management things. They went out in December, and I think, going back to what I bring to this show, I'm less of my analyst skills might be a C- at best, I think. I'm not the most play-to-play guy. Maybe you think I'm pretty good at this, let me know. But I think I'm more of a Winnipeg Jets historian. And people don't forget, and by people, I mean me. And when it comes to last December, the Winnipeg Jets did cut 2 players. They cut 2 players that were prospects in their system. They cut Daniel Torgerson, who was a 2nd-round pick for them, and they also cut Henry Nikkanen, who was another player, played in multiple World Juniors. He's a 4th-round pick, I believe, for the Winnipeg Jets a little while ago. And it just seemingly, for a Moose team that is struggling, just weird how they're kind of not shuffling the chairs on the Titanic, but they're just sending guys away. And it seems like for a team that's 29th in the AHL, just kind of a weird coinkydink that the Manitoba Moose are they're just doing some weird stuff down there. Hopefully they figure it out. Don't know what it means. Don't know if there's something going on. It's just kind of weird how they're just kind of throwing guys out the door like that. So anyway, hopefully Isaac Phillips can come and play some games and make an impression on the Winnipeg Jets, because if they can find a player who can play that bottom pair, I think they really want someone who can come in and play with Miller. They're really looking for a penalty killer, it seems, because they're really trying to force Logan Stanley to that role, but it just doesn't work out, especially when he's the guy who takes the most penalties. All right, and with that, let's go into the 4th period. the overtime period. This is where you guys can ask me anything you want, any sort of questions, anything about the Jets, anything about life. I just finished reading the Invincible comics today. If you want to hear opinions about that, season 3 is coming out in 3 weeks now, I believe. But as you guys are typing away your question, what better way to support something you love than by repping it on yourself? Game Over Winnipeg, or Game Over as a whole, apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel a nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, or you want to wear your love of goalies proudly with your live and die by the goalie design, very relevant to Winnipeg, or if you just need another coffee and a toque to get you through the winter, we have you covered. I'm going to do my thing where I just take a sip from my cup. My beautiful Game Over Winnipeg mug. We have you covered, designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code on screen, there it is, to kind of go to our store, look through our stuff, see what they have to offer. The mugs are amazing. I drink them I have like 4 of these in the house. They're beautiful and lovely, and you would love them too. If you've got this far, you'd probably love it as well. And if this is the only part of the show you're seeing, you definitely also love it, okay? It doesn't matter how much you watch, as long as you watch a little. And yeah. So I'm going to take these off here, see if we have any questions. What can we talk about? Yeah, bottom pair defensemen. Those are some guys. I guess too, like with the Winnipeg Jets kind of bottom pair defense, it's been a real like kind of fire drill down there between just guys in and out of the lineup, people injured. And last year with the Winnipeg Jets, they didn't really have a lot of injuries besides Kyle Connor missing like a month and a half, which led to their best stretch of hockey, but we're not talking about that right now. But just kind of having a lot of guys injured, it's really kind of forced Arneal to make some interesting decisions. You see that Lowry line, which is playing so well, and Darren Dreger said on the broadcast tonight that might lead the Winnipeg Jets to, instead of looking for a second-line center, they may instead look elsewhere, just try to get the best forward available, which I think would really help. They're kind of losing some juice at 5-on-5 right now. But that's okay. They'll figure it out. Hopefully they can get a pretty good acquisition. And with that, doesn't seem like we have any questions. Anyway, well, thank you so much for watching if you've gotten this far. Our next show is Saturday, 6 p.m. with Game Over Calgary, where the Winnipeg Jets are playing Calgary. It will be at 6 p.m., so our show will be about 8:45-ish. We'll be joined by Anad for that show. It's going to be wonderful. There's going to be 2 of us. It's going to be amazing. And with that, if you've gotten this far, like the show, subscribe. Super easy and free way to support us. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and be nice to Logan Stanley, please.